Hello, everyone. Welcome. I just want to come on to give you a behind the scenes of our confident conversation session. We are delivering the last of the anyone can join session, the last of our low cost session. We kept the costs low specifically because we wanted to ensure that we can support charities, a third sector, social enterprise, smaller organizations who may not have the resource to bring in an anti racism consultant to support them. The reason we created this session is one, it started off first from the fear of getting it wrong, fear of getting terminologies wrong. We were hearing from different spaces, clients that we've worked with, clients that we're connected with, that you've put in the work, you've become comfortable being uncomfortable, you've done a lot of the awareness work. Organization took time to pause and reflect and learn. However, the challenge then is in the real work, in the real space. How do we then implement, or how do we continue to have these conversations when we don't have access to the consultants, when we don't have access to people and resources? So, this program started off first with our Beyond the Label guide, which I'm going to show you in here. Now, the Beyond the Label guide was a guide that I decided to create to give people the historical context of the terminologies, to address the change in the terminologies that we have. Why is it that we no longer, for example, use BAME or BME or politically black, or there's a variety of terminologies out there, and that causes confusion because how do you know when you're using the right one? How do you know if it's going to cause an offense, etc.? I always say to people, it's all about the context in which you're using it, how you're using it, the why in which you're using it, etc. What is the impact on the people? So when we go through the confident conversation masterclass, these are some of the key things that we will guide you through. So I'm just going to show you briefly the presentation. As always, if you've worked with me, you know I love a presentation. And in the presentation, we'll take you through the objective of the session. Now, for those of you that have already been on the session, you'll notice that the session changed. So we made sure that the content and what we present is tailored to the people that are in the space, but is also tailored to the current affairs and issues that we need to address. So, for example, those that attended the July 17th session, we were talking a lot around the terminology. We looked at race and ethnicity, the difference underneath, the nuanced differences in terms of the different terminologies. However, for those that joined last week and those that will join this week, we dived in a little bit more to give because again, the terminologies, the labels, the language, it all is important, but where it came from is also important. So in the sessions, we go through the past and present, for example, of fascism, the rise of the far right. We looked at the responsibility when it comes to language of the people who govern us, the media, celebrities, also overindulge billionaires who have too much time on their hands that then create chaos for people. We'll talk to you through the resources that you get. Now, with attending the masterclass, you will get access to the course. This is a one-time only offer that we're doing where you have the masterclass and the course. After the September 10th, you can either book for the masterclass for your organization, but you won't have access to the course because, again, these are two different products. So you can either choose to purchase the course by itself later on. And in the course, which I'm just showing you here, apologies that the screen is a little bit small, so I'm just going to bring it a little bit closer for you to see. So you can see in the course here, we have
And in
video
the series,
guides. Let me just pause this, where I will take you through the key topics. When you have access to the course, the videos and the content will be updated to reflect the change of time. So this was recorded at the time when we were focusing on terminology and ethnicity. But later on, we're going to then add the context that we talked about here, the far right. We're going to add, we already got the historical context, we got definitions, etc. But one of the things that we've added is this. The UK riots that happened in the summer, July and August, is something that is going to have long-term implications, be it in our community, in the workplace. And we want to encourage and support organization in terms of how do you respond to this? What support are you putting in place? Because as a society, we have been building up to this point. Sometimes when you look at these images and people will think, how did we get here? But if you really go back, and this is what we go through in the program, when you go back in time, back in your history, we explore the similarities in terms of how Black communities were treated in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and still, but that precedence of how people were treated then, it's something that is then copied and pasted and treated into other communities. So we look at the Muslim communities, for example, and then we look at individuals who are under the banner of seeking asylum or people seeking refuge, the anti-immigration sentiment and rhetoric that came along. We look at language, we explore all of this in here. We look at language, we look at different resources and books that we can share. You can see behind the scenes, I have got a variety of books that we can share. And having an understanding of this historical context, which a lot of people have said has helped them to understand then how do we have the conversation beyond the what people tend to say. I can't believe in 2024 we're still having this conversation. I can't believe in, right? We want to move from those statements and then how are we going to then help our society to shift? How do we help our colleagues or how do we support ourselves in terms of community to come together? And that's where the confident conversation comes in. If I take you back to the platform, you can then see that you have access to download the guide. So this is a 60-page guide that gives you the terminology. We are also going to be creating more resources around what we shared there in terms of the dehumanization of people of color, Black communities. We're going to talk about the Windrush communities, etc. We're going to add little extra resources in here. So when you have access to the masterclass and you have access to the course, you will have access to this for life. For those that join now, you have access to this program for life. And then we're going to be looking at ways that if as an organization you would prefer to license what we do to put into your organization, we're very happy to talk to you about that, to create bespoke courses and program that is specific to your needs. This is something that we offer as well. But you can see here you have key resources that you can download. One of the extra resources that we've created in here is the guide to having confident conversation. Again, this is something that you can use as an individual. And we also support you in terms of how do you have understanding the nuance and the intersectionality in the conversation. We're adding a bonus course in here for you, bonus resources in here for you. And this is one that you can use within your organization. So this is a step-by-step guide for you to facilitate your own conversations. Again, if you don't have the resources to access myself to come into your organization or other individuals to come into the organization, we want to provide these resources for you to use within your organization. Not everything you'll be able to just download and share because again, in terms of how we work, if you wish to license, great, you can license that for yourself. Now, the platform that we have here, we have a variety of resources for you to dive into. You can dive into and download our Untapped Talent report, which gives you the context around employability, immigration, migration, etc. in Scotland and how to tap into the talent that we have here already. You have then the course later on. So both the course and the masterclass, these two are going to be increasing in price and obviously resources will be updated here. You have the guide. If you wish and you're not ready to join us yet, you have the option to download the Beyond the Label guide yourself. And again, for those of you that are working in your organization and you are providing this support for your organization, this guide will be there to guide you and support you. It's all in the name. And the other thing that we also provide you on the platform and you click the more button and go into the second page, you can join our Unity network. And again, Unity network is spaces where I'm going to be doing, just as I'm doing here, I'm going to be providing you with masterclass, webinars, short courses, resources that you can use as an organization or as an individual. We have the allyship guide, and this is the one that we're working on next. You can download the guide and use it for yourself. This is a 59-page guide, and it gives you practical tools on how to master your DEI and anti-racism in 12 steps. And what it does is we're giving you practical step-by-step key activities that you need to do in your organization, from order the conversation, from the implementation. We support you in terms of how you get the buying. For those of you that manage the purse strings, the resources, how you need to invest in the resources in order for you to be that practical ally in your organization. Now, this work around any other banner of DEI, be it disability, be it we're talking about racial equity, gender equity, etc. Now, as an organization, some people look at us and think, oh, but you're just talking about race. A lot of what we do is, yes, we're under the banner of talking about racial equity, but there is that knowledge and the need for intersectionality. We always make sure that in terms of the conversation that we have is about the through thread of diversity. Why is it that we do what we do in our organization? Is that we want to create a space where everyone can belong. In order for us to do that is about giving space for key conversation. Yes, we talk a lot about race and racial equity, but we're not actually doing in terms of taking action. We're not seeing a shift in people progressing up the ladder. We're not seeing a shift in terms of access to opportunity. We're seeing people at the front of organization when it comes to what would we call that, the representation of diversity in organization. But if you really look at the hierarchy and layers of your organization, are you seeing diversity moving up, or is it staying static in the same space? Are you seeing race in terms of racial equity in your place, in your workplace? Are people staying in the same representation space, or are they moving up? If they're not moving, then this is why we maintain and continue to have this conversation. But the way that we deliver this is with an intersectional lens, is one where we try to very much encourage that it's not a whataboutery of who has the most struggle. Is about understanding that people come in multiple layers. If I sit here and tell you my layers of being a Black woman with dyslexia in the world, especially being in the as an entrepreneur and also working in the space of racial equity, there's so many barriers that I'm still having to jump over in order to get where I need to get to. I know that in terms of the work that we do, we have fantastic resources, but I still have to work twice as hard to prove that, if that makes sense, right? With all of that understanding is then about how do we create a society where we are shifting forward. It means that we need to do this. We need to have these confident conversations. We need to have the safe space, but we also need to move to the brave space. The brave space is where we're not quite there yet. The brave space is where we're taking action that shifts. The brave space is where we're being comfortable being uncomfortable, but that uncomfortability is making us take uncomfortable but practical decision and action that shifts us forward. You would see this with some of the clients that I work with. So we'll provide you with the testimonials that you need. But for now, thank you so much for listening. I look forward to welcome you all on our Confident Conversation session. And I can't wait to have this conversation with you. I can't wait to see you in the space. It's a welcoming space. We make sure that when you're here, you're provided with the resources that you need to keep moving forward. And if you really, really are not sure, then I'm going to encourage you to book yourself on my Pick My Brain session in here. Okay. This is where you can have a one-to-one conversation with me. I will work with you, guide you, support you, especially if you're trying to structure a program within your organization. How do you go about doing it, getting it all together? I'm a very good listener, but I'm also one that brings you good and quality solution. So thank you, and I'll see you soon.